Good morning. I got my morning Biggie motivation in. Uh, Today we'll have a themed video on the education system and how overall it failed me, I failed, it in general. Um, so when I was growing up, uh, first off, I failed kindergarten, which I don't even remember. I think it's because like I was switching schools so much that they were like, dude, this is like your fourth school. Like, you're not passing. I'm like, well, it's not my fault. So I failed kindergarten of all things. Yeah. Um, the first few years weren't too bad, other than the fact that, again, I wouldn't really go to school if my mom didn't want to get up and take me to school, or if I didn't want to go to school. Like, I don't know. It was bad because, like, I got good at playing sick. Like, I don't know. I was a con artist from the day I was born, man. I was born from a line of con artists, and I was right there with them, I guess. So, I could make myself puke and do all these things by the time I was like 6. So, yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't go to school a lot, I guess. I wasn't highly motivated with it. And we moved around so much that I never had any real friends anyway. Like, I never really made any, like, real long-lasting friends until I lived in Florida. That was, like, the first time I ever had, like, real friends that I could see on an often basis. But I went to lots of different schools. At one point, just before my mom had my sister, we were living in downtown Akron. If you know it, you know it. We were living pretty close to the hospital, Akron General, I think. We were living in, like, this house, and it was like a split unit, and literally you could walk across the street. Because I used to do this. I used to go get cigarettes for my mom. You'd walk across the street, and it was a little like bodega type joint. And yeah, so we lived there. And I remember when I went to that school, we had to wear uniforms because it was, like, super duper in the hood. I think that was, like, one of the few times I rode the bus. Like, I remember occasionally riding the bus, but for the most part I'd get taken to school or I'd walk to school, different things like that. But yeah, I had to wear a uniform. I don't know, man. School for me was just so hard. Like, it's so hard for me to focus. Like, it was always just like I just wanted to hang out and play, I guess. Like, I don't know. I couldn't really focus. I was doing good. Like, I did pretty good in school. I could pass all my grades and stuff for quite a while. Even though I'm switching schools and I got all this other crap going on. I wasn't very great about doing homework. Like, if you gave me homework or something, I would generally just, like, bust that out, like, all at once. Like, you go on vacation, they give you a bunch of homework when you're a kid or something. And, like, I bust all that stuff out either the last day or the first day, and then I just wouldn't think about it again. So I wasn't, like, bad in school. But then after my mom passed away, I finally had friends that I could just hang out with, and all we would really do is, like, hang out and play video games. From the time I was, like, 8, 9, 10 or whatever, I'd finally found my friends, Cameron and Hunter, in Florida. They lived down the street from me. And we would just play video games, play Yu-Gi-Oh!, just kid stuff, man. I don't know. Cameron was older. He was, like, 13, 14, 15. And me and Hunter were, like, 11, 12 at a certain point. And that's kind of when things went off the rails a little bit. Like, school was fine for me, I guess. Like, it wasn't great. Like, I swapped schools a few times because it was hard. I think I had to swap in the middle of the year. Like, just different things. I don't even remember why I had to change schools. I think it's because they were maybe full up in that district or something. Because I had to go to school really far away from where I, like, lived. And I couldn't go to school with Hunter or my friends. So that kind of sucked. I remember that for a while. There was, like, right after my mom passed away, I had to go to some goofy school for, like, I think the first year because it was the only one that I could get into. And it was super weird, too, because everyone just treated me awkwardly. It was like, everyone knew my mom had just died, I guess. And yeah, I don't know. People would talk about me about my back or whatever. I don't know. I almost used it. I don't know. I don't know how I used it. I used it as like a 8 or 9-year-old who like didn't know what he was doing. You know what I mean? I don't know. It made me sad, but at the same time, like, I guess it made me feel special because everyone was like aware that something happened to me. I guess I don't know. But yeah, school sucked. After my mom passed away, I wasn't doing great in school. It was, I wasn't focusing very well. I think I fell behind a little bit. And then when I finally transferred to the district that my friends were in, I don't know. This is like right when I hit middle school. Like I had just entered middle school, 6th grade. 6th grade was okay. Like it was a big change, you know. Now I had to carry a giant backpack and I had to put all my stuff in the lockers, which after a while I stopped using the locker because I was like, dude, there's no way I can get across the campus to like get books and stuff out of my locker, and I'm forgetting the code. Like it was horrible. I stopped using the locker for anything other than just basic storage. Almost instantly. I'd carry 50, 60 pounds of books in my backpack. I didn't care. It's better than trying to run across campus. Yeah. But I was able to hang out with my friends. So, like, my skateboard when we get to school in the morning. My grandpa would drop me off because I was much closer to school. Yeah. Just hang out with my friends. We'd pick up Hunter sometimes and go, or sometimes we'd commute to go there. 6th grade was fine. Wasn't too bad. I think I was falling behind a little bit, and I think they put me in special classes maybe just because I had kind of missed my education a little bit for the last few years, as you could assume. And also at this time, we had another neighbor, Alex, who lived across the street, and he was like 15, 16, something like that, and his dad/mom, I guess, were rich ish. I don't know, rich for like $1 million or something. I don't know, 20 years, 15 years ago or something. Quite a while ago. But they had money essentially, and so they had like a boat, and he had introduced Hunter first to like we'd skip school just to hang out and play video games and stuff occasionally, but we wouldn't skip school that often. And then he found, smoking pot at, I think he was like 11 or 12, and then I was 12 or 13 at this point. So my basis on time and the years is so bad. I'm sorry about that, but we were somewhere like right in there, real young, like 6th grade, 7th grade, and yeah, so he had discovered smoking pot, and then he called me at school one day. Like, I went to school by myself because he didn't go. And again, this is, my two best friends live down the street from me. We just hang out, play video games, and do whatever. Like, kids. Sword fight in the yard with giant metal sticks and all types of crap, right? Stupid stuff. But my best friends, for many, many years. Yeah. So he skipped school, and I didn't really know Alex that well. Like I hadn't really hung out with him too much, like other than he skateboarded and we skateboarded. Again, I skateboarded for years. I sucked. I could never do a trick. I could barely even ollie. I used to fall all the time, but I skateboarded for years. Okay, I was a skateboarder. Couldn't do anything, but I skateboarded. So So one morning, back early days of cell phones, cell phones had only been out for a couple of years or whatever. I still had my flip phone. I didn't have the iPhone 1 yet. Had the flip phone. And he either texted me or called me and was like, dude, you should come hang out at Alex's or something along those lines. And growing up, my mom had smoked pot. My cousins that I have lived with for a while, I'd caught them smoking pot. I've seen many people smoke pot, right? And I didn't know anything really about it, I guess, but I'd seen other people do it. And I wanted to try it, I guess. And so I go there This is a longer story than it needs to be. It's gonna get wrapped up soon. I go there. I walk like 5 miles back to our house or whatever. Skip school, leave school middle of the day, walk 5 miles back, and then when I get there, Hunter is like he's puked, he's passed out. They took a Sony hand cam of him doing this, and they were doing like gravity bongs or whatever. And then I took one or two, and I coughed. Obviously, I don't even know if I felt anything. But then the next time, like, I was floating and going to space, and you can imagine how the next like year or so, or 2 years went. And eventually, I was in like I said, I needed extra help in classes, and there was one specific like kind of special needs class where a lot of the dudes in there all have like looking back now, we all have like ADHD, bipolar disorder, and like we had mood disorders, right? Like we all have very explosive personalities, I guess. And I've been in this class for like a year or so. I wasn't doing too great in school. All I wanted to do was play video games, smoke weed, and hang out with my friends. I didn't care about school, so it wasn't going great. And then we would hang out in this class, and like I say, like, dude, some of those, there were only like four. It was like between like 4 and 7 of us in this class at the most, right? Like, imagine extreme like autism, and then pop it in a room, right? And then have a really old, like, angry, like, imagine a female version of whoever that caretaker is in Harry Potter that has the cat. Filch's cat? No? Maybe? Filch? Is that him? I don't know. But imagine that as your teacher. And just an absolute ghoul, right? It was bad. Like, it was a bad, bad teacher. She never taught us anything. We would just sit in there and hang out and do whatever. And at the house, at my grandparents' house, we had a big desk, like a big roll-up desk. And we just had tons of pens, they just collected pens for years and years and years, whatever. So you have millions and millions of pens, like probably 1,000, 2,000, like just ink pens, right? And I went into school one day. I just grabbed a handful of them. I think like 10 or 15, and I just went into school. I don't even remember what they were, like Bics. Like, I think they were just a bunch of Bics or something. I don't even remember what I wanted them for, but who cares? They're my pens. And so this lady catches me with all these pens one day, and she accuses me of stealing. Like, she's like, hey, you stole those pens, and I'm going to get you expelled from school. And she just starts, like, yelling at me, and all of a sudden, I'm like, these are from my house and everything else. And, I lost it, man. I lost it. I'd already had, like, anger issues. I think were not to this degree. This one was definitely bad. And I understand that, but what they did to me was also really bad. So I just got mad. Like, I was like, she just kept yelling and telling me how she was gonna get me sent to jail and expelled, and all it did was remind me of back when my mom stabbed Eric in the back, and he's just yelling at me, "You're going back to foster care. How does it feel?" Blah blah blah, and he's just bleeding out his back and screaming, and I'm like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, I don't. When people scream and yell at me or raise their voice at me, I don't do well. I start to like crack and be like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. Like, I can't. So, but she's yelling at me. I stole these pens, and so I was a big kid. I don't think I showed the pictures because I cut it out. But I have like a thing. I took a video the other day where it showed like me as a kid or whatever. I was a big kid basically. And so I got mad. She just kept yelling and like saying what she was going to do to me or whatever, and how I was going to get expelled and all this stuff. And so I punched a hole through my classroom into the next classroom. She just kept yelling. And she just wouldn't stop. I wanted her to stop talking or stop yelling at me, right? And she just would not stop. And then when I punched that wall, she stopped. Yeah, she shut up. I think she like kind of laughed about it. She's like, oh, great. This is exactly what I needed to actually expel you. And, yeah, so I got kicked out of that school, which I think is ridiculous. That was, like, pretty much the only actual thing I did. So that's really annoying. Other than just, like, skipping school and stuff occasionally. Yeah, that was the only actual thing that I did. And I was kicked out of school, and I got sent to a school that was an hour and 5 minute bus ride away from where we lived, and it was a school for gang members. So 12, maybe 13-year-old, like kind of heavy, obese-ish, 5'9" Andrew is now going to gang member school. Yeah, it was bad. They had like asylum style pods in there, like rooms and stuff. Like they had padded rooms, and if people would pop, like, so they had everything there from elementary school up until like college level, right? And they were in like pods. Like imagine prison. Like, you know, I have prison pods, so you got pod A, B, bop, 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 bop. You just go down the line. That's how it would go with the grades, right? It would go down the line. And we're talking about like kids who in first grade bit somebody or did this, and then now they're here. Now they're in a school for gang members. We're literally 500 feet away or 1,000 feet away towards the high school wing. We're having to be wanded up and down. We're having to be wanded for guns and knives every day. Like wanded up and down, like, do you got your piece on you, whatever. And when you get into this school, it is also built like a prison because it is barbed wire fences all the way around. Barbed wire fences all the way around the entire school. It was bad, man. Yeah. So imagine all these people that all have mental illness and all have issues and all probably need individual help, you know, poor people, actual gang members, people with mental illness. All these people are now sent to this school, and the only way that you're allowed to get out of this school is if you go an entire year with not a single incident. What that means is you can't get in a fight, you can't get in an argument, you can't miss a day of school, you can't do literally anything for an entire year before you're allowed out of the school. So essentially, almost nobody ever left this school. We would get 1 or 2 guys a year who would get out, and everyone else would stay. Thank God I was only here for about a year, because then my grandma was gone and everything else, and we moved. But yeah, so it was bad, man. I got into a long distance relationship there in that school. I met a bunch of bad people there at that school. At one point, we decided to just leave the school and just skip school, like dip out in the middle of the day. And we were arrested. Not only like were we arrested, but like they sent like 6 or 7 squad cars out to get us. And we just surrendered when we were just like, hey, what's up? We didn't even make it very far out of the school, but they literally sent that many people out after us. And it's because someone had like said something about one of them had a gun. I was like, I ain't got no gun. I don't know nothing about no gun. I don't think they did. I think it was literally just like I say, imagine a bunch of convict children, like, you know, angry children. Yeah. So, yeah. People lying about having guns and people actually bringing guns and all types of craziness. And yeah, so I spent like a year to maybe 2 years there. And then, I'm just checking the time because the thrift store's going to open in 5 minutes. Yeah, I spent like a year or so there. In that school, I could not get out. It was absolutely horrible. I hated it so much. I would fake sick all the time, anytime I could, just to leave. And my grandpa would drive the hour and so up there to pick me up. And he had just lost his wife, and I had just lost my great-grandmother and everything else. And he would still do that for me because he knew I hated it. He knew that school wasn't for me, especially after they put me in this school. He knew that it was just probably like that was it for me. And it's bad because I had checked out by that point. Like, you put me in gang member school, they did all these things to me. I got locked in some of them asylum rooms before because I got mad. Imagine being around hundreds of like actual other psychopaths, and then you gotta be the one that's like, oh no, it's all good, dude. I'm chill, G. I'm not gonna freak out. It's almost impossible. Literally, imagine you're in class and somebody just like throws their desk through the freaking window, or freaks out or does craziness like that, or these rooms that they would put you in, if somebody was popping off, kicking the door, punching the wall, screaming, you could hear it in the entire campus. Imagine you are a first grade student at school and you can hear a almost grown man on the other side beating his head into the wall and screaming. That was my school for a year or so. It was bad. And then I moved to Greenville, South Carolina. They sent me to a school that was kind of similar to that. It was very far away. But it wasn't as bad. Like, it was nothing like Florida. Florida was the craziness. I guess I didn't preface that to say I lived in Largo, Florida. It was insane, my education growing up. Horrid. Absolutely horrid, bro. And then I moved to Greenville, South Carolina. I spent, I think, like 60 or 90 days in like a school that was mixed, like anger, like people who would get in fights and people who were actually like special needs, like real special needs people that needed extra assistance and stuff. So it was like a mix between those two things. And as soon as I got there, they're like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, I got upset and I punched a wall and I got stuck in a gang. I basically explained it to them and they're like, "You shouldn't be here, man." And literally after 60 or 90 days, they transferred me from there to just normal high school. Yeah. I think I spent 2 years in that freaking gang member school. I don't even remember it, man. Life has been so rough that I've blocked out so much crap. But yeah, I got out of there and then I just went to normal high school. But as you can imagine, 2 to 3 years of my education was completely shot on BS. Even, I was already checked out before. I needed like a good teacher. I needed like focus. I needed some help. I didn't need to be, sent away to basically prison for children and all this crap. And then by the time I made it to actual high school, I was completely tuned out. All I wanted to do was mess around with girls, hang out. I only had one friend when we moved to Greenville, which was Andrew, who still owes me money, So, yeah, just all I wanted to do was, I was interested in girls and Call of Duty and World of Warcraft, and that was it, bro. And then from the time I was, like, because we moved there and when we moved to Greenville, I was 14. And then, yeah, from the time I was 16 to 19, I was like a drug dealer. So, yeah, my education pretty much stopped. Towards the end, when I went to high school, half of my day was spent at Career Center, and then the other half of my day was spent, it was supposed to be spent at school. Usually I would just go home. I'd either get Andrew to take me home so I could, like, sleep with my girlfriend, or I would, just go hang out with him, play video games, and smoke all day. And then if for some reason I did actually have to go back to school, I would generally just sleep because I had been up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning playing games the night before. So the education system failed me pretty miserably. My environment could not have been worse. Yeah, that's my fault, but the system itself had failed me. I think if I knew that you would just basically be promoted endlessly up until you pass, I probably would have stayed, but I didn't know that. So I just dropped out, and then I never went back. And I have the memory of a pissant, so, yeah. Yeah, it was a long one. The thrift store just opened up. I'm gonna head in there, see if I can find anything. I'm super demotivated. I spent like 2 hours trying to figure out what I was gonna do today, and I didn't know what I wanted to do today or how I was gonna charge things because I gotta do it at the gym or at the storage locker or whatever. I just couldn't decide what I was gonna do. But I'm just gonna hit some thrift stores. I'm gonna try and stop driving myself insane about not knowing what I want to do or whatever. So I had some thrift stores, making my storage locker eventually today or tomorrow. I'm in Brunswick. I used to work at the Medina Goodwill, so I know exactly where I am. I used to live in Bath, Ohio, at the Ohio Motel. Such a nasty, gross place. Do not ever stay there. And it was like $1,300 a month, dude. Yeah. But hope everyone has a good Black Friday. This Black Friday seems like it sucks, dude. There's like nothing. Like I might again spend $50 on games just to force myself to do it, and if I do, I'll come up with the list of what it is. Right now I'm not too sure. I'm thinking like SpongeBob Rehydrated and maybe Halo Anniversary Collection and stuff. Not too sure. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's anything on this Black Friday. It seems like there's nothing good to buy. It's all just like, who cares? But I hope everyone has a good day. I'll upload this later or whenever. I'm not sure. It's currently, it just ticked over to be 10 a.m. So whenever you see this, I hope it reaches you well. I hope you have a good Black Friday. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I hope if you spent it with family, you had a good time. Yeah. See you guys. Hope everyone has a good day.